Alright, so this is a little bit different than what I usually do because I'm in love with the Cosmere. Like, I love the Cosmere so much. I was only expecting to read the 5 Stornlight books, not Stormlight and Warbreaker and Mistborn and all these other stuff. I wasn't expecting to read all that and actually, like, look up news about the Cosmere. I wasn't expecting that, but I want to bring it up because I don't want to get Cosmere burnout. I just don't. I know I'm going to get burnout if I just go Mistborn, Tress, Yumi, Sunlit Man, Isles of the Emberdark. I'm going to get burnt out from that. So I have picked 9 series. They're a little shorter. One of them I think is a bit big, but you don't have to like read all of it, and most people talk about the first few. All right, and I'm going to go in order from what I heard is like, oh yeah, you'll love this one the best too. You'll hate this one. All right. The first one is Empire the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. I've heard unbelievably great things about this series, and it's like gothic horror set in like an 18th century inspired French world with vampires who have taken over the world, and it just looks like this. Just constant nighttime. And vampires that are actually fucking horrifying, like Nosferatu horrifying and not Edward Cullen. I love it. And plus, I've heard so many great things about Jay Kristoff, and I want to throw Nevernight on there as well, but Empire the Vampire is the one I hear more on Reddit, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, that sort of thing. Second one, The Darkness That Comes Before by Richard Scott Baker. Now, this one is like the deepest of dark fantasy. Like, if you ever know that album Everywhere at the End of Time and like that opening little somber piano, that's what I hear when I think of that. Just this bleak world. I don't know what it's about. I read the prologue and it just seems like it was written like some Silmarillion copy or something, and it's got like, I don't even know, like gods have locked heaven and hell away from humanity or something, and there's a holy war and religion, and it's just a lot. Third one is The Black Company, The Origin of Grimdark. And so many Grimdark tales have taken inspiration from this book. Joe Abercrombie, Stephen Erickson, Ian C. Esselmont. So many authors have taken inspiration from that book that I thought, you gotta try it out. I gotta know if it's like worth the hype. And I have no idea if I'm gonna love it, because I heard that it's written in the style of like you're just sitting around waiting for, like just waiting, and it's just a bunch of character interactions, and it's written like a journal, which sounds very intriguing. Like you're writing it out and you're like, oh, we did this, blah 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 blah. That sounds fantastic. That sounds intriguing as balls. I have no idea how long it is, because I've heard from like 8 to 13 books in this series, so I just want to do like 2, maybe 3. But yeah, that's the third one. The fourth one that I have been told, and this one is a little bit more 50-50 with some saying positive, is The Broken Empire by Mark Lawrence. This one I've heard people say that it's amazing and others say it's terrible. But I've heard more people say that it's amazing. And I say that because every single major reviewer that I see that talks about this series, they always got to bring up the main character is a giant piece of shit. And he does shit like that. The AC just turned on. But I don't know. Once I heard that the inspiration for it was that Mark Lawrence wanted to write a story about Alex DeLarge from Clockwork Orange in a fantasy world, I'm like, that makes more sense. That makes much more sense. So I don't know about you, and I like seeing the progression from Prince King to Emperor of Thorns. I like seeing that progression. So the fifth one, is Faithful and the Fallen by John Quinn. This is a case similar to Sanderson, at least for me. I didn't know if Sanderson was worth the hype, and I don't know if John Quinn is worth the hype. Their writing styles between the two seem pretty similar, but John Quinn is willing to say fuck, shit, piss, and all these swear words, and Sanderson isn't. But it just seems like John Quinn is willing to go into the deep end of darker shit. And I like that stuff. And I've heard that Faithful and the Fallen has a lot more like Game of Thrones stuff. I like that stuff. But yeah, that's the main reason I wanted to try Faithful and the Fallen. Number 6. Now this is where I think it starts to get a little iffy. The Poppy War. I heard so many people say like, yeah, you'll like it. Others will be like, yeah, you'll hate it. It's so divisive. So divisive from what I have heard that it has been like, oh, you'll hate it. You'll hate this book so much. And then others will say like, oh, I love this series so much. And the second thing is, R.F. Kuang has gotten so much love, not just in fantasy, in books in general. She's gotten so much love, but I've heard that, book 1 of Poppy War is great, and the other 2 are shit. So I don't know how she's gotten so much popularity from a trilogy, and the majority of it is crap. I don't know how she did it. But another reason, and this one's really funny to me, is that she has a common theme of anti-colonialism, which I don't mind. But at the same time, a few months ago, she got accused of being a Zionist. And that is the funniest fucking thing I had ever heard. An anti-colonialist is being accused of being a Zionist. That is hysterical. So, number 7 is Kian Ardalon. Or not Kian Ardalon, Mistland by Kian Ardalon. This one I had heard in like an indie rec. And what sold me? Dark Souls and Berserk. 2 of my favorite things into a book. I love it. And when I first heard about it and I was like, hey, I want to try out this book. So many people were like, ignore that series so much. Ignore it. It's awful. It sucks. And I read the prologue at my work and I was like, wow. Oh my God. This is atmospheric. The writing styles, it's fine for an indie author. And it only had 1,000 ratings on Goodreads when I checked it out. 1,000. 1,000. That's half the people I went to high school with. So I really wanted to see if it was worth it. And another thing is that I saw a girl who reviewed it, and her only critique of it was that it had poor sex scenes. And that was like 90% of her video was just complaining about the one sex scene and how bad it was. And I'm like, I gotta try this out. The 8th one is The 5 Warrior Angels by fellow booktuber Brian Lee Durfee. I had never heard of this guy before even getting onto BookTube. I had never heard of him until later this year. So I needed to see if his own trilogy, or some like really, really dense trilogy of like Tolkien era fantasy akin to Tad Williams and Tolkien and Moorcock and Robert Jordan, but in a Grimdark era, or not era, fashion. I gotta know if it's worth it. I'm hoping it is. And the last one is The Demon Cycle by Peter V. Brett. I have heard more negative things about this series than positive. And the only reason I put it on there is because it just sounds like a literary snob's take on Berserk. And I love Berserk. Demons come out at night, and there's 2 people that can stop these demons, but they can't agree on it. And that just sounds like if Guts and Griffith, they knew how to stop the God Hand or whatever, but they can't agree on it. And it's like, I love book 1 and it falls off from the rest. And I just don't know how I feel about reading 5 books, but only the first one is good and the rest are shit. So yeah, those are some series that I want to read so to avoid Cosmere burnout. And I want to know what y'all's thoughts are. Like, am I crazy? Should there be anything on there? So yeah, those are my recs. Those are my my wants, I guess you could say, my want to reads, some things on my TBR so I don't get Cosmere burnout. And I will see you later.